everyone, Rika the Warpultress here, and today we are playing a game that I found on Steam called Without a Voice. Now, I did record the first episode, however, I sadly lost all the footage on my laptop because why wouldn't I? So sadly, I do have to replay the first day. Like, the game is divided up into days. I don't know if that's considered like chapter 1, chapter 2, but from what I played, it's really interesting so far. I love the music, I love the art style, I love the aesthetics and everything, so I was pretty interested in what I did play. But again, I have to replay it now, so but it'll still be a good time. So yeah, let's go ahead and start a new game. When cold, cruel destiny has thee within her grasp, thou may endeavor bravely, dear, to change thy path, but fate cares not which twisted road you choose to take. You dance atop her palm with every choice you make. Day 1. Alright, let's go. It was a morning like any other. The tragedy soon to unfold would affect so few people that time would swiftly forget it. For those involved, however, that morning was a maelstrom, drawing them each in closer and closer still. It all began innocently enough, with a certain exiled princess in a terrible predicament. Exiled princess? Oh dear, I've run out of firewood. If only I'd noticed yesterday. This has caught me quite unawares. The ex-princess in question was named Cassidy, and she was the eldest child of the kingdom of Varamir. What's that you say? You've never heard of Varamir? What's a jellicle cat? One shouldn't be surprised. This all happened long before the universe summoned you into existence. The next shipment isn't due for a little while yet. But I cannot wait. I won't be able to cook or do laundry without a fire. So long had the princess had been living in this cottage alone that she'd taken to talking to herself, just to feel less lonely. Determined to gather some wood before sundown, Cassidy grabbed a hatchet, some linen, and then quitted the place. Once outside, she paused, considering for the umpteenth time whether it would be best for her to lock the door. No one will come in anyway. My brother's agents never enter, and no one else travels this deep into the wood. Convincing herself so, Cassidy turned away and headed into the forest to begin her mission. Unfortunately, her determination and willpower were short-lived. It fills her with determination. As I thought, firewood isn't just lying on the ground, just waiting to be picked up. Though she'd brought the hatchet, she'd foolishly hoped she wouldn't have to use it. How long have you lived in these woods? Faced with so many different types of trees, most of them quite large, she was unsure how to proceed. Now that I think about it, how much firewood do I usually use at once? Oh, whoops. Perhaps I'll just subsist on fruits and fungus until the next crate arrives. A timely stomach growl quickly put a stop to such plans. Cassidy let out a sigh. For now then, I shall return to my favorite place. It always brings me peace. That place holds some magic I've always felt. I'm sure I shall be able to think of something once I'm there. Her spirit restored, Cassidy heft her linen satchel a little higher. It was not long until she would be comfortable again, she thought. Why, you're as radiant as ever. There were many views to take pleasure in this forest, but this one in particular always brought her delight. Though she had lived here now for some seasons, the tree before her seemed never to change. I don't know much about wisteria. Are they meant to stay in bloom year-round? Perhaps the winters are mild. Wisteria shall not when flakes of winter fall. Yet all must someday perish while heeding nature's call. But nature wields not power over us all. A clear, wind-chime voice caught Cassidy's attention. "Hey, girl." Cassidy's heart struck in her throat as she followed the sound and caught sight of the woman sitting there. She had never seen before a woman so breathtakingly beautiful. "My apologies for interrupting your poem, madam." "It was only a couplet. You did not interrupt so much as improve it." "Oh, then all the better. But it is not safe to be so deep in the wood. Tarry not." "I live here. It is quite safe, I assure you." "I dare say I have lived here much longer than you have." "No harm has ever come to me in these woods. Perhaps our experiences merely differ." "Certainly, I concede your point." Cassidy paused a long while, unsure of how to carry on the conversation. How strange. I used to make small talk with all the courtiers as if it were nothing. Has time truly affected me so? You say you live here?" "I do." I have never seen you. I'm quite sure of it. I would remember someone like you." "Whereabouts do you live, if you do not mind my asking?" "Hardly a stone's throw from where we stand now." "A stone's throw?" I chose "how can that be" last time. "I suppose she does not wish to expose where she lives to an utter stranger. That is unreasonable." "She seems to be quite on her guard." "I envy your view of this lovely place." "Do not envy me." What could that mean? How droll. "Oh, where are my manners? My name is Cassidy. I too live nearby." "You may call me Elowen." "Elowen? What a lovely name." "Perhaps I was already aware that you live nearby. Oh, besides." "What? How?" "I've seen you here before, albeit from a distance. You come here quite often." "Oh dear, I must have been making a complete fool of myself. I'm sorry that you've had to witness that." Cassidy thought back to all the complaining she'd done under the tree, and how many times she picked her nose and scratched her armpit. And all the time she'd sullied herself trying to gather fruit. There were many other truly mortifying memories. She stared at the ground in shame. When she looked up, however, Elowen was smiling. Cassie felt her tension wane. "So what brings you to this place?" "I wanted to calm myself." "Calm yourself? What for? What could possibly cause you distress?" What a sour tone. Does she think I just daydream and laze about all day? 'Cause she would be absolutely correct. Many things. I'll have you know that at this very minute, I'm on a mission that might mean the difference between life and death. Oh, and yet you dally here. What could this mission involve, pray tell? I see my presence is not wanted here. I shall return to my search forthwith." Just as she was about to turn away and leave, Elowen and the wisteria tree leave alone, yeah. Cassie heard Elowen laugh softly. It was a bewitching sound. "I see I have offended, milady. No offense was meant, I can assure you." "Really?" "Truly, I would never wish to cause you pain. Tell me of your mission." "I have run out of firewood." Upon hearing this, Elowen stood up and dusted herself off. "Allow me to be of service." "Oh no, I couldn't possibly Please, this tree suffers so much every time you shed your tears and frustration on it." Gasp! I love how their text boxes reflect their aesthetic and their design. Yet despite her abrasive words, Elowen was tirelessly helpful. Excuse me. It was she who taught Cassie to gather smaller bits of kindling, and to use the hatchet when that proved insufficient. "If you wrap these smaller branches together, they shall burn just fine." "Oh, I see. I am certainly glad not to have chopped down a whole tree. I was worried about that." "Yes, once felled, a tree can never rise again. Take of them their fruit, their branches, but spare them their roots and lifeblood." I agree. Lifeblood? Do trees have blood? It's called sap. It's delicious. Makes syrup. This forest is quite old, you know. I wish it would stay forever this way, but man has trouble leaving things be. The disparity between Elowen's indifferent expression and the biting tone of her voice made Cassidy's heart ache. She must have had a bad This is what I chose. Yeah. We humans are meddlesome things, aren't we? Perhaps I'm making too light of her feelings. I thought that was rather an intelligent thing to say. You truly love this forest. Yes, in fact, I feel that I am part of it, and it is a part of me. How beautiful. The two continue through the forest, gathering wood and passing the time with easy conversation. As they walked leisurely, the sun began to sink. So too did the satchel of wood over Cassidy's shoulders sag. It seems you've gathered plenty of wood now. Surely that will be enough. Ah, you're right. The time had quite gotten away from the exiled princess. Now that their afternoon together was coming to an end, Cassidy was afraid. Afraid and hopeful, which was perhaps dangerous still. Then, excuse me, Miss Elowen. Yes? Might we meet again? You've no idea how happy I am to meet another person living in this wood. And a woman at that. Yet the expression on Elowen's face showed that she had, in fact, some idea. I was about to suggest the same. You might find me in this area most afternoons. I see. Then, until tomorrow. Would that we meet so soon, my lady. With that, Elowen bowed and left. She dipped. Her steps make almost no sound. What a graceful woman. Not just beautiful, but elegant and smart. So if you can't tell, Cassidy's crushing pretty hard on Elowen. Which, I mean, when I first played it, I didn't want to assume, because, you know, it's possible to have these sort of feelings towards the same sex without it being romantic. Believe me, friend crushes are a thing, okay? Yeah. Also, there is a warning, there was a warning, it didn't show it this time, but it's like this game handles like really, there's a lot of gory imagery, topics of homophobia, incestophilia, I think that's how you say it, and stuff like that, so, just to be warned, it handles some intense topics, it said, so. As she walked back to her cottage, so filled with thoughts of Elowen was her head. Whoops! Oh dear, oh dear. Oh no. Hold on. Oh boy. We'll be back after these short messages. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay. Because I pressed F. I guess that made it. Okay. You didn't see that. Okay. She went back to her cottage, so filled with thoughts. Cassidy forgot all about her fatigue and the weight of her burden. She certainly is opinionated, but she must have so much more experience living independently than I. I hope I am not a bother to her. And with that, the once princess returned home, blissfully unaware of the roots that were this very moment grabbing hold of her heels and pulling her beneath. Pretty sure that's metaphorical. It is said a fool repeats his days, changing not, but expecting change. I posit these men are, by routine, hog-tied. They expect not and are not satisfied. I really like the music. But yeah, I quickly picked up that, okay, yeah, they're going for There's going to be a romance between these two. There is a sort of melancholy one feels when closing a book for the final time, feeling its last words wash over you as soon as you leave its world and return to your own life. It was an ennui that Cassidy had grown used to. Words. In her former life, she had received the best education that money and bribery might buy. Now that bright mind was left to languish, fed by nothing more than a single new book each fortnight. By now, Cassidy was in the habit of reading very slowly indeed. And so I'll read a book, or maybe two or three. She shut her latest tome and placed it upon the table next to her half-written letter to her brother. I never sound quite myself in these letters. How do you write from a distance to one whom you once saw daily? And now, do you write anything at all when your life has grown so dull? She decided to pen a few more sentences on how moved she felt after reading the book and how profoundly distressed she was by the ending of it. Family is important, but so, too, is recognizing the value of what you have before it is too late. If only the king had realized what a wonderful daughter he had. And I hope you realize how much you are loved by me, your one and only sister. She paused, overcome by sheer feeling, and decided to keep that final bit to herself. Oh. It was too desperate for comfort, and princesses did not whinge so. No, that won't do at all. How unbecoming. Girl, it's okay. Express yourself. With a sigh, Cassidy stared at the crackling fire. She had more than enough firewood now to last until her next shipment of it. The sight reminded her of Elowyn. I wonder what Elowyn is doing at this very moment. She could not fathom. The day-to-day life of such a mysterious personage was utterly beyond her imagination. Her curiosity so engaged, it was now impossible to ignore. And so the fair Cassidy resolved herself to take a walk and casually seek the other woman out. Make sure it's... Okay, good. Perhaps I'll even stumble across where she lives today. Wouldn't it be exciting to surprise her at her home? I mean, yeah, that'd be pretty surprising. Nothing at all of how inconvenient, how overly forward and impertinent it might be. She departed immediately. Well, at least the game knows. You're coming on a bit strong, Cassidy. Once outside, Cassidy took in a deep lungful of crisp forest air. How lovely it is today. Hardly a cloud in the sky. She took measured steps into the forest, constantly scanning the area around her and on the lookout for this elusive domicile. Words. They use words in this game I feel like people don't normally use. Might Elowyn live in a cottage like mine? She's so elegant, I cannot imagine her doing housework. Then again, I could hardly imagine myself doing housework not so long ago. Oh, how times change a person. Exile really changes a person. Cassidy reached her beloved wisteria tree before long and eagerly drank in the sight of it. She ran up to the tree, encircled it with her arms as if meaning to embrace it. Hello, pole. Hello, dear tree. You are looking as lovely as ever today, though a certain someone sits not beneath your boughs this afternoon. She leaned to one side and then another, looking around the tree and into the forest to see if she might spy a window or the billowing of chimney smoke. Sadly, she could make out only more trees. I can't suppose that Elowyn lives in a tree house, does she? Certainly not. She lives underground. Oh! She just popped up like a whack-a-mole. Startled, Cassidy jumped, her foot catching unhappily on one of the tree's roots, sending her flailing forward. Careful. Elwyn's arm shot out at once, her vice-like grip snaring the once princess just in time. Okay, that's some fan fiction sort of writing right there. The once princess. Elwyn's touch was so cold, yet her movements decisive. Cassidy's heart raced. Was she truly worried for me? It took Cassidy several moments to regain her composure. Elwyn, too, looked a bit shaken. Thank goodness you arrived when you did. Though truth be told, if you hadn't startled me so, I would not have fallen. Is that so? I shall endeavor to be less frightening in the future, then. Oh dear, she may have mistaken my meaning. I was only trying to cover up my embarrassment. I chose this. I don't understand what you mean. I certainly don't think you're frightening. Oh? Your earlier words seemed to suggest otherwise. I was merely... Oh, never mind. How confusing you are. How confusing you are. Still, how curious it is for us to be meeting here again. Fancy meeting you here again. You come here often. I live nearby. What is curious about it? It's like we go to the same school. I'm merely saying that it's serendipitous. It must be fate. Oh, gosh. Fate has nothing to do with it, I assure you. Oh, but it's so much more romantic to think of it as fate. I can think of nothing less romantic than fate. Question mark? Perhaps it is something not yet possible for you to understand. Don't speak as though you're much older and wiser than me. Elwyn laughed a little. How old are you, anyway? How old do you think? Careful, Cassidy. Careful. Cassidy stared at Elwyn, gazing deeply into her eyes, as if she might find the other woman's secrets there. Older than I first thought, perhaps. 150, and still young. A wise answer. Good answer. Elwyn tipped her head slightly. The motion seemed to indicate a desire to walk on. Cassidy was only too happy to comply. Together, the two women strolled. Their time together was marked by companionable silence. Cassidy, never before a quiet girl, was desperate to fill it, but what conversation might pique Elwyn's interest was unclear. She peered shyly at Elwyn's face in profile, so striking and noble did it seem. She has the air of an aristocrat. What could someone like her be doing living in the forest? Then again, am I not in the same position? Are you also an exiled princess? Perhaps it's something she finds difficult to speak of. An icy gust of wind whistled through the clearing, causing Cassidy to shiver and rub her bare arms. The sun will be setting soon, and it will grow colder. Perhaps you should... It was then that the question Cassidy had been ruminating on over all afternoon burst forth. Would you like to come to my cottage? Elwyn appeared quite overcome. Is that wise? Whatever do you mean? How can you extend such an invitation to one such as me, whom you hardly know? You are entirely too trusting. I'm surprised at you. Two solitary women ought to stick together out in these wilds. Besides, who else have I to invite? I sometimes feel quite lonely out here, don't you? You're a princess. Just sing and all the animals will come to you. Elwyn turned her head slightly and gazed into the forest behind them, as if peering at something only she could see. Loneliness, then. I see. Well, very well. I'll take you up on that offer. Though puzzled by Elwyn's hesitation, Cassidy was overjoyed that her invitation had been accepted. There was a spring in her step as she led the other woman to her home. It was only in front of the cottage that Cassidy suddenly understood what an impetuous thing it was that she was doing. Is the house clean enough? She could not seem to recall when she had last swept or aired out her bedding. Is this where you live? Yes. It's charming. Thank you. I wish I could take more credit for that. The house was here long before I arrived. Even the furniture is not truly my own. Still, it suits you. Thank you. You're too much, Elowen. Bolstered by Elowen's reaction, Cassidy finally gained the courage to follow through. She opened the door wide, gesturing for the other woman to enter. As Elowen did so, with her usual slow, measured steps, Cassidy could not help but notice the other woman's feet, clearly visible in the slippers she wore. Her toes are curled. How odd. They stayed that way even as Elowen entered the house. Perhaps her manner of walking is not purely for the sake of elegance, but also necessity. Had Elowen some sort of pain in her feet? Cassidy pondered on this and resolved to ask about it when the opportunity arose. It's quite spacious here. Do you live alone? That's right. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it here, guys. I know that's kind of a weird place to stop, but I think it's a good place. So, let's see. I guess we'll save here. I mean, it's basically where I last left off anyway, so I just have to remember, yeah, day 2 is where we're at. Load, yeah. Well, alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. So we're all caught up to where we were. Yeah, this is really interesting. I'm interested to know more about Elowen. She very much is mysterious, so yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you so desire. And I hope you're all having a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Stay safe, stay healthy. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. So, love and blessings.